Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Now I'm back again. I didn't end that last stream correctly, so now I'm starting a new one. And that other thing will do whatever it does. And as I'm talking to my friend here, the Magic Man, and we're talking about the potential that's in front of us. That's what we're talking about, buddy. He's going to get a sandwich, I think. So what are you guys thinking about? You know? So it's clicking away. There's nobody here. I'm out in the deep green. And it's super, super, super muggy. A thunderstorm was just over there, right? And
You're still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. I've arrived at the destination.
Anyway, did you?
Yeah, so we got a little bit of loot. So you were saying that this new Aquarian age, I should take advantage of.
Yes, this is a time you can step outside of your habitual activities.
Yeah. I think I've done that for the most part, actually.
Oh, you have definitely been working at it since I've known you, you know, and
well, yeah, I was in a crisis, man.
Yeah,
I was tunneling out of it.
Yeah,
you know?
Right, and you would kind of get caught in the gray goo every now and then, but
I still do. That's just something I accept.
Right, but you know when that happens, and I was talking to someone about this earlier today. That is the opportunity to learn something.
Correct.
You know, that's what that's about.
Well, that's basically what I do with it. You know?
Right. And so then...
Well, it's like I broke this down to somebody last night. Probably never heard anybody say this to them before. I'm not trying to brag or boast. This is ancient fucking wisdom that's just been handed down.
Uh-huh.
You feel like crap. You recognize that it's you that's generating it. And take a minute to reflect and say, what is it in how I am perceiving, thinking, and what emotions are going on, and recognize that it's you, and move away from that and move towards something positive.
Right,
and recognize that when you are feeling that way, you're participating in self-victimization.
Right.
Victims don't recover. You need to move on.
Right. And that's
this is what's been going on ever since I first talked. But I found, I stayed on the path,
right,
and started absorbing a lot of information through books and meeting the right people.
Right.
God has been very gracious and kind.
Right. And that's because you let go.
It's not an end to the journey, but I definitely am not as fucked up as when we first met.
Well, the journey is continuous. The question is whether you're going to break the habits that keep you locked into the habitual activity, because when you do that, you're letting go of your personal ego. That's when you realize your life isn't about you. It's about the we in me.
That's right. Well, that's it. I forgot who it was, but it was something that I locked into through one of my favorite actors and philosophers, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who I absolutely think is awesome, to the point where if I was ever asked, George Plimpton, I think it's George Plimpton, from that show, the Inside the Actors Studio, where he would say, "If God exists, and you reach the pearly gates, what would I like to hear God say?" My answer today has been, all right. So that's all I want. That's it. That would be my answer. But he is what drew me to him for other reasons, movies, kind of a similar path, cool dude, whatever. But he was in this TV series on HBO called True Detective.
Oh yeah, and I saw that. That was,
and his character is quite intense. I mean, I'm sure he had a hand in the dialogue. He's pretty hands-on and stuff. But there's a scene where he talks about. He said that, paraphrasing, he's sitting there being interrogated. He's drunk out of his mind, and he's just saying, life. What does he say? Time is a flat circle, and we all walk around in it. under the illusion that we are a person.
Yep.
So yeah, that's that. I was like, wow, that's really deep. And you meditate on it, at least for me, meditating on that, recognize that it's like, yeah, you are now understanding that this idea of personage or persona or ego is a fantasy. It's
Yep.
not real.
Yep. And that's
Consciousness itself is real, but all these other things that we attach to it is just a mask.
That's what Carl Jung talked about, the collective unconscious.
Absolutely.
That's,
sure. I mean,
I've
just been absorbing a lot of this stuff to the point where it's like, I actually feel that.
Yes.
Like you kind of crack it. The one thing one of the early revelations I had, sort of about the halfway mark when you and I were talking to each other, was, Robert, you got to stop taking credit for something that's being done to you.
Right.
Stop saying you're doing it to yourself and allow it to be done.
Yes, exactly. Go. And, that's the euphemistic term of that is go with the flow.
I can come off the cuff and say that just like I rattled just off.
Yeah.
But that took about a good 3 years to get to that.
Right.
And taking my wife out of my life.
Right.
A lot of these things were like, it was like, you got to do this. Otherwise, you're going to still feel like crap.
And
the little voice was like, you got to do this.
Right.
Otherwise, you're fucked,
But the where you got to kind of get to is that place where instead of saying you got to do it, you go with the flow of love's co-creation, and it will do it with you, right?
Well, that's it. It's a co-creation. That's exactly correct.
And so that's what people go. I was just talking to someone today who has had a great deal of loss in their life. And they were going on about, if there is a God, why does God suck so much? And I said, you got to realize that you are looking at why God sucks so much is that you are the God that sucks so much. Let go of your...
Well, it's a reflection. I mean, if you're going to put that out...
Right.
That's what you're going to get.
That's what you're going to get.
Reality you're going to create for yourself and live there.
Yeah. And that's again, a habit, a habitual activity. And that's what religion has been turned into. Instead of a relationship with the great creator, it's just a habitual activity.
Right.
And
it's very boring.
Right.
That's why, like my friend, he's caught up in this whole when I got my baptism, he loved it because he got to roll around on the floor and be a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Yep.
And I'm like, hey man, it's great. There's a rush. There's it's cool.
Yep.
But that's what he does every weekend.
Right. And that's what just like people, going get drunk every weekend or doing drugs every weekend.
Well, there you go. Exactly. I mean, I don't have the heart to say that to him, but hopefully he'll get to that place or not.
Right. Or not. But once you get to the realization and the quicker you can do that and stay there, like I have a friend and they're really a sweet person and really, organically enlightened, but they're so stuck in why they feel sad about this or that, or why this, and physical things are happening to them and they never had physical things, like getting sick and this and that. So, well, that's getting older. When your body gets older, that's kind of what happens. And the other side of the coin is I've known you long enough to observe you, and you continually do the same thing all the time. You're stuck in a habitual, but I'm a good person. I say, yeah, you are a good person. And I'm really compassionate. I said, yeah, you are, but not really, because you view everything from your perspective. You don't put yourself in the other guy's shoes. And you kind of have to do that to be in love's co-creation.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the drill, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much the drill. And that's why it's difficult. If it was easy...
Well, it's only as difficult as I want it to be.
Well, that's yes, but...
Actually, there was even a time I was kind of like, you know what, Owl Bob, good guy. Please come to New York City. Otherwise, I'm kind of like, I like our talks and stuff, and I've gotten a lot out of it. I hope that you've gained something from me. But I was kind of like, okay, you know what? I think the student is surpassing the teacher, and I was kind of like, yeah. And then I put up on my YouTube just the other day. It was like, because a lot of the insights come to me because of just the seeking, right?
Yeah.
So it came to me when my friend's kid killed himself. I go to the memorial. I'm drawn to it. I don't know this girl that well. It's been like 30 years. So I felt kind of weird, but it was a similar community. We all know the same people, so it wasn't that strange. But I went, and it something prompted me to look at some Kabbalah stuff that I had gotten. Because in my early recovery, it was just kind of like, hey, everything's open. Just check everything out, which is great. Nothing wrong. And again, New York City, firsthand experience, that you can have. So go to the Kabbalah Center. I bought DVD. I was like a spiritual tourist. Let me buy the goodies. Let me get the T-shirt. So I get this DVD, and I watched it twice or whatever, and then I say, okay, I'll upload this. Maybe it'd be of some use. But it was, because now I'm looking back at this Kabbalah thing, and I'm thinking about what happened at the memorial service. I said, oh, this is kind of like what they talked about on that DVD. So I revisited it, and the main thrust, it's a book called Becoming, well, it was originally called Becoming God. It's called Becoming Like God. And I don't know if he's a rabbi or not, but he's got the little hat.
Right.
And Mr. Berg, I believe, is the last name. And he talks about it. He say, hey, you want to become like God? I usually try to tell people that it's easy, but it really isn't. But I make it real simple. Is that you have to make the sole focus of your life into ending suffering for all.
Right, exactly. And you do
which
it.
is the Buddhist motif, which is Jesus' motif.
Right.
And it was just, I'm at a point in my life where I could hear that.
Right.
Now, I kind of, really don't even mind the goo episodes, provided I don't act out on them and damage my life. But I don't mind them. I let them come and I let them go now. Because the goo episode would just be the only reason you get stuck in it is because, well, one, you want to stay stuck in it, and two, because you're trying to figure it out.
Right.
It's not about figuring it out. It's not about fixing myself. No. These are all the things that have come together within, I don't know. I don't know when the last time we talked, but they're awakening. It's widening and widening. My eyes are getting wider and wider. It's waking up more and more. Is it a continual process? Absolutely. But it doesn't have to be a drudgery. Right. And I'm just kind of, finding my way. Like, just simple shit. Like, okay. And that's why, you got to take a shower before bedtime. Right. Maybe and that's why... exercise more. I constantly talk about. Maybe I have to, know that it might bother somebody if I text them I took a dump. But when even today, I'm having interactions with the crazy clients and whatnot, and say, hey, remember your purpose to end the suffering. That's it. Right. And you get good days, you get bad days. Right. But I don't feel that I'm as much in the loops that I was in when we first. Start talking. Yeah, exactly. You one of them was mainly because, I got to look for this. I got to get this job and all this other crap that was really hurting me. And also being in a marriage that I didn't want to be in. Or living with somebody that when I'm basically alone and should continue to do that. I'm not saying I won't get married or whatever, but I do not habitate with other human beings. Right. That's too hardwired in. And I really don't give a shit. I like it. I like being by myself. I don't mind getting a piece of ass now and again, but that's not even a priority. No. Like, it shows up on the radar, I'll take it. So Aquarians are people who they enjoy their own company. Aquarians do. Well, I guess that's what they say. Yeah, that's what they are, but more power to them, I guess. Right. I usually tell people I'm a feces because my mother says I was a little shit. So.
Yep.
Which you could laugh and say, well, that's something an Aquarian would say.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I usually just flap my arms like they're wings and I walk away.
When I interact with people, I am more focused on what their needs are, and that's also kind of an Aquarian thing. But like today, I was involved in 5 different bureaucratic things that I could have let the bureaucratic goo get me upset. But what did I do? I had 2 or 3 of my birdhouses that I made, and I gave it to the head bureaucrat.
Nice.
And they were like, "This is so amazing! You can't give this." No, it's for you. You need it. It's right. And then we talked about all the different elements, and we dealt with the issues, and everything worked out fine. But and she was, you could see her sitting at her throne as head bureaucrat, that she was ready to fight anybody. That's her job, to like hold the line, right? And that I was sweet and kind, and then read her palm and hit a lot of things that she was worrying about. I could just see it in her body language. Nice. And we talked for a good 20 minutes just about her. I mean, I didn't say anything about me or what I needed or what I wanted, and she's the bureaucrat, blah, blah, blah. And after I spent 20, 40 minutes just about her, and I kept saying, "I hear you saying," and I would repeat what she said, and it took one more chink of her armor, because she's going, "Here's somebody who's actually listening to me. Here's somebody who actually wants me to feel good and not attack me for being a bureaucrat." And once she kind of got to this point of like really letting everything kind of go, she said, "Oh, let's take care of this." And she just took she went through the whole thing on her little computer and asked me a question about this, a question about that. And she said, "Well, it's better to answer it this way, better to answer it this way." And she hits the button. "Yep, you're totally accepted. Everything's going to work out fine." Instead of, you need to go back and get this document and that, And she said, "You bring all your documents with you?" I said, "Yeah, I think I did." And she didn't look at a single one. Right. And so I walked out of there after an hour, and, everything was peachy keen. And that's because I didn't go in there loaded for bear, wanting, all about me, what I need, what I want, how it has to be, right? I just, gave her, said,
It's more of a combination of going with the flow and practicing empathy.
Right, exactly. And then letting her do her job. I mean, why did she take that job 40 years ago? Because she wanted to help people. That's why we were talking about that in the 20 or 30 minutes that we were talking about her. And
I think that's what happens, is that when people are in that line of work for so long, they get really calcified.
Yep. By the bureaucracy
that happens.
Right.
And it's kind of like, well, you know what? I'm just waiting before either I die or I retire.
Yep.
And it sucks.
Right.
It's a shitty. Like I was feeling that today. Some days I don't feel that way. Today I kind of did.
Right.
But here's the reason, though. The reason is because I was thinking about myself.
Right.
And that's it. That's
it.
Answer. You're thinking about yourself.
Yep. And of course you're going to feel shitty. I mean, I could always think about myself and
selfless.
Right.
A lot lighter.
And that's why I'm still alive. I mean, I have so many things physically, so what was really interesting, so I told you I have the platinum version of healthcare through this entity, right? And so
something like that.
Yes, because they nearly killed me when they did the operation.
Right.
They put me in the hallway for yes. So anyway,
a platinum card.
Yeah, they issued me a platinum card. So they basically sent me to all of their best people to give me the same test, so they would make sure that they didn't fuck up. But they only had one person do it. They could have, that one person could have a bad day or not really look at the right stuff at the right time. But they sent me to like 4 different people. Now, I could have said, why do I need to go to 4? No, I said to myself, no, this is good. I'm going to get 4 different opinions, and then I'll know whether these clowns actually did a good job. And so it was great because they gave me every little nuance about my operation and how it went and how it looks and all the tests they left. I mean, one person left the little sticky pads that they plugged me into the machine. They didn't take that off. I kind of didn't notice until I was, out and about, and I said, "What is this thing under my shirt?" And I said, "Oh, they didn't take this off." Anyway, that's the worst thing they did. But I didn't go in there at all angry or upset, or I just let them do their thing, and we talked, and I read their palms, and now that whole entity is ready to take. They all said, "Come back anytime. You can just show up." The other ones I had to wait for an appointment for 2 weeks or a month. They said, you can just come in and show up. I said, oh, good, that's so nice of you, right? So that is what, if it's not all about you, it's about everybody, the we and me, that's when it all works out for me. When I'm not even thinking about me. And so that's how it works for me. So, and I've been doing this for at least 50 years. I was very lucky to be exposed to some pretty amazing people when I was younger. So, and that's this really sad thing is that, a couple of weeks ago, I was with some teacher friends of mine, and we were at this really bad school. They wanted me to take a look at it. And I said, let's go to kindergarten first. And these kids were great. And you could just see from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, by third grade, these kids had enough of this prison system. And that's why they were being, acting up.
Yeah.
And then when they got punished and punished and punished, that's when they became a criminal. They were manufactured. It wasn't that they were bad or the statistics. So after that, about a week later, I went to this meeting with these folks, and they had all these statistics. And you know what the most amazing thing about the statistics of the last 20 years is that back in the 90s when Bill Clinton was president and he basically criminalized being black, right, and got rid of everyone's going on about how Donnie's pulling the plug on this, Bill Clinton really did the job on the social safety net. Anyway, all of these, people who are social scientists were saying that we're going to have this new generation of black kids who are going to be super predators, blah, blah, blah. We had to put them in jail when they're 7 years old and maybe kill them by the time they're 11. And basically the statistics show that the black people, the young, that cadre, are the most socially active, positively socially conscious, and disciplining themselves to go to school and find a career that they can help the community and they like doing. And all the white sociologists who wrote all this stuff who are now like my age are like, oh, this can't be true. There must be something wrong with the statistics. But no, they were wrong. So there is a great awakening occurring. There's a great, we're being forced to think things are going to be just terrible, dystopian. Every news outlet is all about being dystopian, and it's not. When you look at the raw data and the statistics, it's not. So that's how I'm observing all of this, objectively, not subjectively, right? And so that was, and except for a few of these stupid old farts, the rest of the, community says that. So where you are, how does your fellow, do you call yourself counselor or therapist?
I am a counselor. I do not have the qualifications to use that name
Right.
without being sanctioned.
Right. Yes.
Don't
So
like getting hurt by the government.
right. Exactly. And
I give Caesar what is due Caesar.
yes, exactly.
I give the middle finger to Caesar, and I give to God what is due God.
So the interesting thing about this all is that things are, like I said, we're now in the Aquarian age, and no matter what these clowns from the old school trying to do, it's not going to make a difference. Things are going to work out for the best.
We know that. You kind of know that. I mean, it's funny. It's even though, like, I say that, and I have complete faith that all is well, and I'm serious. I mean,
I know you do.
But when I'm in my personal bullshit, then I lose faith.
Yes,
Again,
exactly.
Back to being self-centered.
Yep.
I kind of came across this, a lot of these insights, and I'm no different than any other human being on the planet in many ways. And one of them is I learned through the suffering. And it was like, okay, what is the advantage of having faith? There's a lot. Really. Yeah. Mental health, peace of mind.
Yep.
Being able to appreciate everything that's around you.
And you know what that's called? That's called grace.
Yeah. It's grace or gratitude, if you want to use it.
No, grace is different than gratitude. Grace is
it's a good thing. Man.
Right. Grace is kind of a... Grace is a...
You have to understand.
Yeah.
Now, again, going back to being part of ending all suffering, as the mission statement, it's like, okay, well, how do you do that? Well, sitting there and sucking up all this spiritual insight, which is great, but it has absolutely no value unless you share it with another human being.
Right, exactly.
And this is what I do as a counselor.
Right.
I'm trying to, I wrote a little paragraph down just as an intention, and it was like, be at all times a healer, a shaman, a friend, whatever. Just that, to be that in every context. Whereas society, with the material realm, the hell on earth, if you want to be more accurate.
Right.
That mentality is about being about yourself.
Right.
And and getting caught up in time and space and all that shit. And it's like, nah, man, just take care of God's kids.
Right. And
that's what that sort of completes the faith for me.
Right.
Like first it's like, okay, I get it, the government and Bill Cooper and
but all that's illusion. All that's illusion.
It's there. But I'm not really pessimistic about it. I just tell people, when you come to an acceptance of stuff like that,
yes,
it's like dog shit on the sidewalk.
Yes, exactly.
Don't step in it. It's there.
Yes.
It's always gonna be there, and you don't even have to, get all upset. And people do shitty things to each other. I get it. It's hard.
And I keep telling people,
the more you focus on what's in front of you,
right,
and don't be a selfish asshole.
Yes,
you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
And all you have to do is look 4 blocks down and see the shit coming, and just get out of the way.
Yeah, let's just get out of the way. I mean, that's how I've gotten to this point.
Right.
This is how you and I met. That was supposed to happen.
Right.
We can total faith in that.
And
no,
that,
I mean,
and that goes back to
2007.
Right.
I hit a bit of a divot. That was also supposed to happen.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, what are you going to do? That's like, when I was a little kid, I was exploring a lot of this stuff. I just didn't have a lot of people to tell me, because everyone around me was really kind of hopeless, actually, unfortunately.
Well, that's,
but, I wasn't hopeless. I just didn't know that that's what it was going to.
Yeah.
And then watching like a movie like Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5 movie, and recognizing like, okay, well, the Tralfamadorians know when the universe ends because they end it. And Billy Cooper was like, well, what happens? And they say, well, a Tralfamadorian test pilot is trying a new fuel that we developed, and he panics and accidentally presses the wrong button, and the universe ends. They're like, don't you stop him? No. The moment is constructed that way.
Yep.
That I don't remember how young I was when I watched that.
Hey, buddy, My phone
Now,
is just
I'm
about to
going back
die.
that spot. I'm going
My
back
phone
to
is
this
going to
city.
die. My battery is in the red. It's
Oh, I'm sorry.
blinking. No, it's cool. I'm just saying that I'm going to disappear in a second. So
Okay.
I'll just say, let's talk again. This was fun. This was great.
This was good.
Yep.
Thank you.
And-
Yeah, I'm glad you. Well, I called you, but you were checking up on me. and I
Yep,
appreciate
exactly.
it. And I'm checking up on you. I'm really hoping you can make it out here one day. You know, it would really be nice.
Oh, when I deal with all these medical things and I can go out and about and I can, I'm also trying to get a, that whatever, so I can get on an airplane. Because my car, I have no idea whether this thing would make it to New York. And
yeah, I definitely don't think that would be a good idea.
I mean, I could, get somebody to take me to Greenville and take the train to New York City. I could do that. And but I hear that to get on the train, you need one of those IDs.
Well, everything is pretty much an ID-based society,
right, exactly.
You can't get around that.
So anyway, that's it's going to, because what's going to happen is at some point the powers that be will want me to go someplace, and they will go, okay, here's your everything, here's your ID, here's this, here's that, here's your whatever, and that'll be fine. And because up until then, God wants me here. When God wants me to come visit you, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm not asking like, hey, make a trip,
Right.
If it happens, it happens.
Right. No, and it will happen.
For me, I'm not going out there.
Right, it will happen.
Unless he intends it.
Right.
Fine. Because then the means and the ways. But if I try to plan it, it'll be a fucking disaster. And I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
I'm done with that. No, I tell people straight up, like, I won't even go to, like, if it's difficult for me to get to, like, hell no. You want to pick me up? You want to drive me? You want to give me a place to live? Fine, I'm there. If you can't accommodate that, well, I'm sorry. I can't. Right. I can't. I have to have some kind of fucking, assurance. But I like what a friend of mine hit me to this a long time ago. Just talking about the Process Church, which I figured you're familiar with.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, when they wanted to make a community in a different place, they would give each sort of emissary or I forgot the word I'm looking for, missionary,
right,
X amount of money and one Alsatian. They had a thing about German Shepherds.
Hey, buddy.
That was it. And you're getting dropped off.
Hey! Listen, hang up because my phone's about to blow up. It won't let me. It's saying I'm gonna die, and I can't turn it off. So just hang up for me.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, kids, that was the end of that show. That was fun. That was good. So we're gonna clock out. Okay.